How are we to know Michael E. DeBakey? His vision helped chart the course of the modern VA. He created medical miracles, trained generations of physicians, and set the standard for personal integrity. His dedication to research pushed the boundaries of what is possible, and his leadership created centers of excellence to heal the sick and care for the wounded. This is the legacy of Michael E. DeBakey, soldier, surgeon, statesman.
He is a multifaceted person. His intellect is superior, his work ethic is superior, and his contributions have been superior.
He's earned the fame that he has, and he clearly has demonstrated his own personal commitment to excellence.
He creates systems, concepts, ideas, and he has the stick-to-itiveness to see them through to reality.
He embodies the best, and it's the science and politics and advice and wisdom and friendship and all that, but it never steers very, very far from just being a good treater of patients.
So many of the modern foundations of medicine were created by this man, or at least he contributed to them.
I can think of no individual who has made a commitment to veterans and the care of veterans more passionately or more effectively than Dr. Michael E. DeBakey.
In 1944, the tides of war are shifting. We're about to launch a great invasion, but our armies could be decimated. One man has a plan that could save countless lives.
June 6th, D-Day. The great plan is put to the test.
On this day, 120,000 men will hit the beaches at Normandy. 50,000 German soldiers lie ready for them. Thousands of our soldiers will die. But a new strategy to care for the wounded is in place and ready to be tested.
First American soldiers hit the beach. Aid stations are established on the spot, and an astounding record starts piling up. 80 to 90% of the wounded receive medical care within 10 minutes of being hit.
The bloody D-Day invasion changes the course of World War II. Many of the men who survived their wounds that day owe their lives to the determination of one man, Michael DeBakey. Italy, a year earlier. Surgeon DeBakey is assigned to the 5th Army under the leadership of General Mark Clark. There he sees things in action, as he will put it. And he realizes that many who were wounded in battle could be saved if we changed how our combat surgeons operated.
I think Dr. DeBakey's compassion for the veterans emanated from his own experience as a soldier. He saw firsthand the pain and suffering and the sacrifices made by young men for their nation.
And one thing I noticed, we did not have the most experienced surgeons assigned to the field of evacuation hospitals. They were in the general hospitals in the rear, doing almost nothing. So it seemed obvious to me, make these well-trained surgeons mobile. Create a team and move them when you needed them.
The concept is that after you are hurt, there's what's called a golden hour. It's important that within 1 hour, you're stabilized and helped.
DeBakey's obvious plan meets much resistance. It will require too much change. It's too difficult, too risky. But his scientific mind wins out, and new mobile surgical units are formed. The new units achieve such dramatic results, DeBakey will convince the generals to use them on D-Day. And wherever they are deployed, the mobile surgical units show a high rate of success, saving the lives of soldiers wounded in battle. A few years later, when our troops fight in the frozen hills of Korea, DeBakey's concept is standard operating procedure, with a new name: the Mobile Army Surgical Hospital, soon shortened to MASH.
In the early days of warfare, in the Civil War and things like that, infectious diseases used to be a big problem. And today in warfare, the big problem is trauma.
Dr. DeBakey recognized that rather than sitting back and passively waiting for someone to bring the survivors to you, that you get out to them is going to change morbidity and mortality.
The result is that in Vietnam, people had a much higher survival rate than in any other war. And now in the Gulf Wars, both 1 and 2, the survival rate is astonishing. I mean, it's very, very high.
DeBakey's experiences during World War II will shape his thinking throughout his life. Once the war ends, he turns his attention to the wounded troops coming back from overseas.
After the war, he recognized the great need for rehabilitating the soldiers who had returned, because what really happened with techniques that he invented, such as the MASH hospitals, was that actually people who were wounded and in previous wars would have died did not. And since they did not die, it was necessary for them to be treated and rehabilitated and brought back into life.
That job will fall to the VA. But first, things will have to change.
He agreed to stay to work with the VA in creating an infrastructure so that veterans who were returning from war had the resources that they were going to need to be taken care of.
Late in the war, Roosevelt, before his death, recognized that the VA was not ready for all the returning soldiers. It was more of the old soldiers' home and needed to be beefed up, if you will, to deal with the crush of returning veterans.
We in the Veterans Administration are bending every effort to modernize and speed up our services to all veterans.
We were having as many as 3,000 to 5,000 wounded military personnel arriving daily from overseas, and we were losing the personnel that we needed to take care of those wounded, many of whom still needed restoration surgery.
Dr. DeBakey was still in the Army at this time, but he was working with the VA in transitioning active duty soldiers to VA hospitals.
It became obvious that we were going to have a crisis on our hands. The Veterans Administration was not prepared to take over. It didn't have the facilities or the personnel. Surgeon General Kirk called me in and said, "I need you to stay on. Would you stay on for another year?" I asked the Surgeon General to let me call 100 surgeons whom I knew well. Every single one agreed to stay on, which really touched me.
General Bradley, Medical Director Paul Magnuson, and Dr. DeBakey helped guide the VA through that difficult transition. Bringing in new staff is the first challenge. Instituting a high quality of care will be the next.
When Michael DeBakey came home from World War II, young Colonel DeBakey said that we have the obligation to follow the health of the returning troops over time to see how the experience of war affects them. And he started an epidemiology program. And today we still use those data. We still track the epidemiology of the health of service members who return from combat ever since World War II.
What Dr. DeBakey knew, and it was just really at the beginning of this, was that medicine coupled with science and research could in fact help people dramatically.
DeBakey institutes ongoing medical research as a key component of the VA mission. Then he has another idea. Join each VA hospital with a medical school. Make the VA hospital a teaching hospital, with the medical school faculty in charge of patient care. And form a Dean's Committee to oversee it all.
First of all, he created the idea of Dean's Committees at all the VA hospitals, and he served on this Dean's Committee at the Michael E. DeBakey VA Medical Center since its inception.
And if you looked at the 50-plus year of attendance at the Dean's Committee, the person with probably the best attendance record is Michael E. DeBakey.
The idea was to bring to the Veterans Hospital, and therefore to the veterans, the best quality of medical care we had, which was by the medical faculty, because they were the ones doing research and improving the delivery of health care.
Sort of legacies that we have now in the VA today all came out of this couple of years right after the war, when the foundation of the VA as we know it today was being built. And Dr. DeBakey was there working with them on a first-name basis. But he really is part of the roots of the modern VA.
Today, the VA hospital that bears his name is part of a world-class medical center and stands as a model for medical institutions around the world. During his war service in Washington, DeBakey spends countless hours at the Army Medical Library, researching the medical texts and browsing through the books.
Which then probably was the best medical library in the country.
But the building that houses the collection is in terrible shape.
It was housed in a very old red brick building, so old that they had an outhouse. And when it rained, they had to put tarpaulins over the books because the roof leaked. I thought that this library was a great treasure. There was a great opportunity now to recommend getting funds for a new building for this wonderful collection of books and journals. The Surgeon General told me that they had been trying to do that for 30 years, but they couldn't compete with tanks. And that's when it suddenly dawned on me that it didn't belong in the military. This was a national treasure.
He argues his case to any who would listen. Finally, at the Hoover Commission, his words make their mark. DeBakey's concept for a National Library of Medicine is accepted by President Truman. Now Congress will have to make it happen.
And everything was going along smoothly. But the Speaker of the House, Mr. Rayburn, held it up because there were some differences among the Democrats about where it should be located.
With the legislation stalled in Congress, DeBakey steps in to set things right.
But it occurred to me that I had operated on the husband of the Secretary of the National Democratic Party. So I called her and asked her if she would try to persuade Mr. Rayburn to let the bill come up for a vote. And the next day she called me and said, Mr. Rayburn's going to let the bill come through. Mr. Hill called me shortly afterwards and he said, I don't know what you did, but we're going to pass that bill.
Today, the National Library of Medicine is a trusted resource, not just for medical professionals, but for everyone.
Up until the Second World War, the role of science in medicine was very limited. But Dr. DeBakey developed all sorts of new approaches.
They had to do some pretty rudimentary things in World War II. There were times they'd have to ligate, sew off a major artery to prevent somebody from bleeding to death. And they learned how long could that limb survive with loss of blood flow. It was observations people like Dr. DeBakey that led to the vascular surgery and repair of those vessels after World War II, which is really where Dr. DeBakey made his greatest impact.
Armed with extraordinary skill and confidence, DeBakey is determined to tackle the mysteries of heart disease. He first directs his scalpels at replacing damaged portions of arteries and veins.
He was interested in research and felt that new materials and new techniques could be valuable in cardiovascular and other research, and went everywhere from using Dacron in the first successful vein replacement.
To mimic a blood vessel, the material must be strong and flexible. DeBakey experiments with different fabrics and settles on Dacron. Then, using sewing skills learned from his mother, he fashions artificial vessels to replace damaged arteries and veins.
By taking 2 sheets of the width I wanted, and by sewing the edges on my wife's sewing machine, I could make a tube. And I first used one successfully in a patient in 1954.
Every medical student has to learn to memorize aortic aneurysms, and they're the DeBakey type this, type that, and they have different anatomic locations, different prognoses, and different treatments. And it was DeBakey who defined all those things. You go into the OR and people will ask for the DeBakey this, that, or the other because he invented instruments that are used in the OR.
Through cutting-edge surgical innovations, DeBakey discovers he can replace damaged vessels and valves. Now, an even greater challenge awaits him. Can he apply his skills to save the damaged heart itself? He sees a way to do it and decides to take the risk.
We should be able to develop a pump, mechanical pump, that will substitute for the heart. And I'm convinced this can be done.
DeBakey's idea is simple. As a medical student, he had designed a pump that made heart surgery possible. Now he will construct an artificial heart and use it to give the diseased heart a chance to mend. Then the restored heart will be reattached, and the patient can have a second chance at life. The artificial heart works, but one by one the patients die. Finally, there is a victory. Esperanza Vasquez. DeBakey's genius gives her a new life, but something even more extraordinary is about to hit the news. In a daring procedure, Dr. Christian Barnard becomes the first surgeon to successfully transplant a human heart. Soon DeBakey and others take up the challenge. But it will take the development of new drugs to make transplantation viable. Today, the procedure is common, but heart disease remains the #1 killer. And, with the help of NASA, DeBakey has fabricated a new solution.
There are scores of surgical instruments that he invented. And this latest ventricular assist device is really a wonderful little contraption, this smallest little pump. I mean, he has a pump which is not much bigger than my thumb that can pump 6 liters a minute.
DeBakey's newest pump uses space technology to do its job. With the help of NASA scientists and Dacron, his pump offers new hope to people struggling to survive with a damaged heart.
He is constantly thinking about new things, and the thought pattern of innovation and creativity, which is really quite remarkable.
He trained with people whose names will be forever a part of the medical lexicon, and then he made himself forever part of the medical lexicon. To me, that's amazing.
His work in cardiovascular surgery, that would have to be the crowning pinnacle of his life in medicine. He has changed cardiovascular surgery.
The liaison committee, which accredits medical schools, came for a visit. And they found Dr. DeBakey as president of the school, chairman of surgery, director of the Cardiovascular Center, world's medical statesman, and consultant to presidents. And the chairman of the committee said to him, "How can you do all this?" He said to them, "I do it between cases." He was able to accomplish these things because he had a cadre of people that he trusted and delegated to them for the operational issues. And he could therefore set his time aside to look at the long-term strategy, to look at the vision, and to set the example and set the stage for others to do their work. That's the brilliance of real leadership.
I can't think of a better example of someone who's committed their life to training the next generation of healthcare providers than Michael E. DeBakey.
He had a dream for a high school that would prepare young people, many of whom, 85% of whom are minority young people.
He just had the idea that he ought to do something to help all of the people, particularly minorities of Houston, to try in medical science, to enter the profession.
And DeBakey is actively involved with the school, bringing real-world experiences to the students.
The very first thing he said to me, bring the kids over so they can see me perform surgery. You have an open invitation anytime you'd like to bring students over.
The school also mirrors DeBakey's insistence on maintaining a standard of excellence.
The curriculum we have here at DeBakey is one that goes way beyond the average high school and what is required of most high schools for students to graduate. So we really want students who are interested in, first of all, math and science.
DeBakey's ability to inspire brings results.
The students who graduate from Michael E. DeBakey High School, 98% of them are headed to college. About 60% are in the health professions in some area. In Houston, there are approximately 175 physicians practicing who started here at DeBakey.
DeBakey believes in education in its broadest sense, tempering a devotion to science with a love of poetry.
He will often ask students, what is their favorite poem? And usually catch students off guard, but most times they can respond.
He's always had an interest in poetry, and I think that he sees poetry and the arts in general as a broadening experience in life, and that a physician is a better physician if they are a complete person, not only scientifically, but understanding what people feel about life. And I think he saw poetry as a way to get to the hearts of people.
Beyond academic learning, DeBakey knows that preparing young people for life also means instilling values, and he looks for opportunities to share his insight and wisdom.
So the combination of education and a career that is satisfying provides an opportunity to be a good citizen and to contribute to the society in which that citizen lives. And in the final analysis, what nobler goal is there in life?
$1 million scholarship. And I told her when she crossed that stage, my heart was just beating because she never dreamed that she would go to college.
Yeah, I admire so much what they're doing.
He's a wonderful surgeon, a wonderful educator, and a wonderful teacher. And that in itself is a legacy.
To me, he is the role model, not only because of his contributions to medicine and his impact in medicine, but also to his contributions to science and education.
He's very, very good with patients. It's remarkable to see him with a patient and how the patients benefit from not only his medical care, but his human care.
As busy as he was and as famous as he became, he never lost his commitment to and focus on veterans and health care.
I'd like veterans to know that Dr. DeBakey is a very human and real person. He's really an icon, but he is a warm, caring, passionate, fun-loving individual who also at age 97 is an inspiration for all of us.
He's a great man and a great physician, one of the great physicians of all times.
This is the legacy of Michael E. DeBakey, soldier, surgeon, statesman.